The reason why we are here, we just want to make sure that the next generation of the leaders in the energy sector learn the industry as quickly as possible, provide leadership, and then make sure that things happen. The Energy Leadership Center, which we've been pioneering, and now we really have master classes so that we produce leaders that will change the course of history of the energy in this country. So we've got it's happening on the 6th and 8th of June. Please register if you're interested in understanding electricity. We deal with the whole value chain there. And that's my passion now, is to really create black-owned, black-controlled, women-owned energy businesses. So let me tell you, the reason why I invited you to the gas is because gas is the next big thing. Diesel, there's just too much competition there, and margin is gone. So if you're an entrepreneur that is aspiring, promise you, trust me, gas is the next big thing. In fact, as we move from high carbon intense economy in South Africa to low carbon intense economy, gas is going to be the bridge. And I think that bridge is very important until we land into completely renewables. In South Africa, we need to change the consumer behavior about gas because the whole world is moving to gas. Gas demand is growing by 41% over the next 2 decades, and it's going to become the second most consumed energy source.
If you cast your gaze across the continent, 30 million square kilometers or so, 1.2 billion people live here. Around 20% of people have proper electricity provision on the continent. So forget about things like digitalization if people don't even have access to electricity to power their aspirations in that regard. But there are opportunities embedded in that, especially when you consider the massive youth dividend that's built into the way our continent grows. 2050, we're expecting our population numbers to double. So we need to get working, and for those of you that are young, that are black, that are in the industry, you already are ahead of the game.
But why do we have 6,500 domestic customers? One, it's a requirement of the license by the city council that there ought to be a public interest element all the time. And two, we like it because that's the only way we can continue to drum up interest in gas. And also to educate and make sure cleaner gas gets into the homes, and the whole society becomes that much wiser about gas. So our major customers would then be the industrial, and then low industrial, who are your small spray painters and so on. There's central heating and what we call multi-dwellings, such as hostels and big users who are concentrated together. And the power generators, we supplied 3 main power generation. Igoli gas, there was no expansion. The concentration was on maintenance. Then, when we got in, we bought it for a reason. It was to expand the business, to grow. For a pipeline to be viable, you need a consumer who would use at least 50% of the throughputs into that pipeline. Then the other 50% will come from the smaller customers that will back up the consumption. And of course, the payback ratios have to be correct, and we're quite strict about that.
Very often you start with a portable gas, that is LPG, that could be LNG, that is CNG, and you end up with piped gas, which is then your natural gas. This country has all the basics, all the foundations to offer fantastic opportunity for those who want to really invest in that gas business. Now, there has been a rumor which has been spread all over for the last couple of years that I've heard here. And it has been actually spread at a quite high level, including, I believe, by some misunderstanding at government authority level. And that rumor is you guys can invest in gas because this is high margin, quick return, and you're going to make a fortune in a very short period of time as an entrepreneur. Let me tell you, those who are telling this to you are lying to you, except if you want to operate as a rogue and become an illegal operator. Because I can tell you that this industry is extremely capital intensive. It's about return. Yes, it's about return, of course, but you need to have time. You need to have a 10, 15, 20 years view. I suppose gas is a fantastic alternative for the country, for the environment, reason. And you know, we're not talking about this environment agenda enough. What is it, the kind of world that we are going to leave for our kids tomorrow? Gas is your cleanest fossil fuel available. Of course, natural gas first, but LPG second. How small the South African market is in terms of LPG market. 340,000 tons, 6.2 kilo per capita, very, very, very small. 2015 was the worst ever supply crisis in terms of gas. You know that gas, LPG, comes in South Africa from refineries, right? So that's for your local production. And then the balance of the demand comes from import. What we see happening on the refining side of things is a decreasing trend over years. To import gas, you need to have tank farms, you need to have terminals, you need to have storage facility, right? That is helping you to receive massive quantities. And this doesn't exist yet. Saldanha, that we hope to see commissioned now, we need to see more of this structure developing. The industry has mitigated this constraint of supply by bringing more and more and more product into the country. In Cape Town, but not having any facility to offload these ships, so you do what we call a ship-to-truck operation. It's crisis management that you have to do here. In the next 10 years, that market has the ability to triple in size and come a 1 million ton market. If we do not unlock, that market is going to stay flat for years, and investor will go away. But also price regulation. The gas is sold along the lines of the current price mechanism called MRGP, maximum refinery gate price, which is a completely outdated mechanism and which is completely disconnected from any parity to import prices. Let's not be afraid about the regulation, because at the end of the day, we have one very important stakeholder who decides about the willingness to pay. And you call it a customer. I strongly believe that we need to change our approach to government, and specifically, as I just said, stop crying on their shoulder and asking for permission and mercy and etc. No, we need to bring solutions. You need a distribution channel, distributors, you need installers, you need technicians, you need transporters, you need engineers. So all of that are direct, indirect jobs created by the LPG industry. And I would encourage you, specifically for the students here, I will use that quote, to see what all see, but to think as none think. I would like just to mention that Oryx is a very proud sponsor of a movement called Women in Energy. I encourage you, for those who are interested as women, to join the oil and gas sector.
If you speak to any person in project development, they will tell you the two most important phases when it comes to project development is your feasibility and your front-end engineering and design, which is your feed phase. I'm suggesting that we do no different when it comes to policy and policy development. We need policy that is evidence-based. If we instantly today take all coal-powered generation and we switch it to gas, we will save more than 100 million tons of carbon dioxide per annum. 1 TCF of gas was the criteria used when the government decided to build Moss Gas for PetroSA. 1 TCF of gas will give you 1 gigawatt of powered electricity powering 1 million RDP houses for 80 years. That's the opportunity we're looking at. I'm talking about a gas master plan that looks at all the role players involved. So increased facilitation role by government to corporates entering the new regional market. The successful development of a regulatory framework for a viable gas industry will be achieved through collaboration, working together. Policy must be shapeless, it must be agile, it must be like water into a cup, it must be glove fit.
Government, I remember Phumzile Mlamangcuka was still Minister of Energy. She actually specifically brought all of us as an industry and introduced a paraffin displacement program.
I believe that the government needs to really support for, as far as, you know, for instance, the subsidy program to low-income segments and that sort of things. Yes, but don't expect government to substitute, to do the homework of the private sector. It's not going to happen.
To what extent has private sector gone in conscientizing youth and customers about the importance of gas?
I just want you to perhaps give us or challenge our minds as young entrepreneurs, as people who are new to this industry, as how we can come up with business models within regulation.
Let's first start with the programs that's out there. DTI has got some great programs out there, the Black Industrialist programs. If you read 2 days ago, Minister Davies actually said, I'm pushing the 100 industrialists to 200 industrialists by the end of the year. And all they need is good business plans and good ideas that can in fact work. You need to understand the value chain. You need to fully understand where the product is coming from and where it is going to.
We need manpower. We need skills. And we're ready as industry to really transfer the skills that are existing within our companies.
I don't know if you ever heard of an organization called OPASA, who's the Offshore Petroleum Association of South Africa. And we've actually signed, so Sasol is a member of that organization, and we've actually signed an agreement with the Department of Science and Technology where we actually have those programs.
Thank you very much.
Exactly.
All the best. There's one announcement I want to make for the ladies. In August, it's a Women's Month. We've got a conference that has been planned. It's oil and gas, women in oil and gas.